share this information with you guys, and I hope that you're excited to hear it. A lot of what I'm going to tell you is very cutting edge, and nobody knows about it because it hasn't been presented to the public anywhere. And it's just stuff with respect to changes that have gone on in the league structures, some new developments, some of which I'm on the board of helping to create, and some of which people told me, I guess prematurely, and they said that I can share it. Not that it's secretive information, it's just that policy changes and a lot of people take stuff really important. First of all, partnership. I wrote an email, I haven't sent it out yet, but I'm liking our partnership to, and I tried to think of how can I present it in a way that you guys would understand, like Jordan and Nike. Two separate entities which together create an absolute powerhouse, but that's not the right description. And I thought Boardwalk and Park Place. Boardwalk being the most valuable property on the Monopoly board. And has anybody ever played Monopoly? You guys played Monopoly? In the old days, Boardwalk and then Park Place was two over from it. And if you had the blue ones, if you had the Monopoly on the blue ones, then you had the greatest empire on the Monopoly board. And I thought that doesn't quite tell the story, although it describes it a little bit. And I think the best way to describe it is Starbucks, which is an absolute powerhouse in its own right, and Safeway collaborating and creating a partnership where now there are Starbucks inside Safeway. They don't cease to be Starbucks, and yet they're housed by Safeway so that people can come in and do their grocery shopping and go to Starbucks, or people can go in and hit Starbucks and grab groceries. So it's mutually beneficial, and it creates a partnership that is second to none. In the same way, TPC, which is located about 200 feet away, run by Jason Sakani, is second to none in strength training and development. They run classes, they do power pitching, power hitting. Obviously, Jason's a very well connected guy. He's been over there for 10 years, and we've known of each other for a very long time. In the last couple of years, we've collaborated on a couple of things. And again, Jason, we have utmost respect for his program at TPC, the things that he does. And Head First, which we like to think is second to none in terms of development and exposure, and also travel ball, which we are the most expansive in that. In fact, the next class we have today it was formerly called Little Rookies, which was, I think, 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds last year. And now it's evolved into a team concept. So they're coming to practice next, doing uniform sizing and all the rest, and there's 7 or 8. Michael's son and my stepson are included in that class. And then our oldest team is, we have 2 collegiate Bercovich teams, so one of which is for years 1 through 4 of college, really. So no other organization has the type of program that we do from front to back. Along with that comes, at the high school level, we have 2 of every team. So the combination partnership of TPC with Head First creates that empire, like Boardwalk and Park Place, and we're actually combining in the very near future, and nobody really knows this yet, but we're actually both going to move out of our current locations into what's formerly Bounce U, which is 10,000 square feet, and there's going to be weight room inside, and there's going to be 6 tunnels. It's going to be unlike anything that the baseball community around here has ever seen, obviously, and even in Northern California. And the reason I say that to you guys is because we'll bring some 300 to 500 players through the door of Jason's program. So obviously that can't be bad for Jason. And in the meantime, we also believe in this program, and we're going to promote our players to get involved in his program. And likewise, Jason believes in the way that we do things, and he's going to bring in probably another 300 to 500 players through the door who look over and see Bercovich players working out, Head First players working out, and they're going to be encouraged at least to consider our program as a home for them for travel baseball. The point of which is there are some really exciting things that are going to happen. There's a lot of baseball opportunity. There's going to be a lot of baseball players. We have added at least 10 baseball players that are out of the organization to our teams every year. So when we think that we had arguably the top junior team in Northern California last year, and that there are 10 new players that come into the system every year, including two guys that I'll bring up. Kyle Dreyer, he was here for the summer, but he was our Bercovich scout team pitcher of the fall. And Ian Dawkins, who's here, did not play on our system in the past. He was the player of the fall. So those are two guys that a year ago right now, they weren't in our system. And since then they've come into our system, along with a lot of other people. So I think for the people who've been around for a while, they've seen a lot of new faces and been happy about seeing a lot of new talent and very motivated players come in. Recruiting, you guys. Recruiting with respect to the Bercovich division. So actually, I'm going to skip down into part of our system. The way our system works now is the pre-high school division of Head First Baseball is the farm division. It's called the farm. It was the Gamers. Did anybody play Gamers here before high school? Jason, Elijah, Matt. Didn't you? Okay. It was too long ago, you don't remember. That's called the farm now. Then the gamer system is for high school age until you get to a senior. And then in the senior fall every year, there's going to be the Bercovich team and the Bercovich Scout team, which will end up evolving into the Bercovich Connie Mac and the Bercovich World Scouting team, which I'm going to describe to you guys, and that's what brings you guys here today. Both of which are extremely good opportunities and going to propel you to work really hard for what's ahead of you. Now, the recruiting aspect at this level for Bercovich every year, on the Bercovich Scout team, there's probably about 10 guys who are committed so far. And that's pretty compelling. And that's compelling for a team to have over the whole summer at the end of next summer. The fact that we have that now, we're absolutely ahead of the game as far as talent, recruitability, exposure, and all the rest. At the same time, a lot of people are panicked right now. And it's like, oh shoot, I don't know where I'm going. It's not working out on my terms. I don't mean it in a bad way, but I don't have everything lined up the way that I would want it lined up on my terms. And it's understandable. What I want to share with you is most of the recruiting that's going to happen in the 2013 class is going to happen in the spring. So really what you guys are saying is there are few players that have been committed so far to few schools, and I'm not one of them. So that I go into the majority that's going to end up getting recruited and figuring it out in the spring. So when you hear it like that, it doesn't sound as bad. When you hear it like this, such and such got committed 2 years ago and they're in your class, then it makes you feel really behind and really frantic. When you hear that, oh yeah, you're in the majority, most of the players that are going to play college baseball out of the 2013 class, they haven't been committed yet. And really the early commit, do they get more leverage going on campus next spring than the guy who commits late? No. Not at all. The key is, are you good at baseball? Is it going to work out for you? It depends on your talent. Now here's another thing. The guy who committed early, 6 months ago, and you're going to commit in the spring, little do you know right now, but what's going to happen is you're both going to go to campus, and you're going to outplay him, and that player in a year from now is going to be at a JC. Because it didn't work out, even though they were an early commit, it didn't work out. They weren't good enough. You were. So right now, on the front side, players are worried, but on the back side, the truth is a lot of guys who go to Division I or go to a 4-year, they come back to a JC because it wasn't the right fit. And then they try to go back into the system to be a 4-year. So the encouragement for you guys is to understand it's a long process. If you think you have it figured out, you don't. And if you think you're far away from the whole thing, you're not. The key is whether you're a commit or a non-commit, you have to work hard. And I say that going through the process and understanding, and again, personally went to Stanford. It was a great opportunity. I went in as a very high recruit, and then my sophomore year, I pitched 1 2/3 innings all year, and they were separating because I was trying to get into a darn game. And I saw my buddies on other teams in other schools being the starter and pitcher of the week and all this crazy stuff. And at one point, I was way ahead of them. And at that point during sophomore year, they were way ahead of me. And then where it turned out from them, some I passed up, some, it's not a competition, but it's just, especially when you're at other schools, you're rooting for each other. But the key is, there is a place for you guys. Don't get frantic or panic about it. Just understand it's a process, and you just want to be calm. Do your work and do it right, and I help with that. But understand that a lot of it is going to happen later. And another story that gives people peace, although this is not the pathway you want to take, but it does say something about Steve Friend, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. Ryan Howell was the outfielder for Bercovich 2 years ago, and he had one of those magical summers. He just killed it. He was recruited in the fall, big strong guy, pretty fast, good outfielder for us. He was recruited, but nothing compelling enough. JCs talked to him and said he'll be a great JC player. He possibly could be a pro guy at some point. Possibly, definitely a four-year kind of guy. It just wasn't working out. And going into the summer, he was a non-commit, and then he settled it. He was going to Chabot. He was going to end up going to Chabot. And he killed it in the summer. In the Connie Mack State game, Chris Flexen threw a shutout, struck out 10, and Howell hit 2 home runs, one being a grand slam. And basically, it was the evening, and the next morning, this is a couple weeks afterward, Chabot had their meetings, for their opening meetings. And Howell was planning on going to the meeting the next morning and going to Chabot. Well, Oregon State, who's in the PAC, Division I, highest level, called Steve Friend, and they had a guy who signed and said, "We need an outfielder." And who's the guy? And Steve told him, "There's only one guy that you want. There's more than you might want. There's only one guy that I'm going to push your way. And I hate to lose him, but Ryan Howell." The next morning, Ryan's dad called me from Oregon State, and he had a high offer and committed to Oregon State, and he's at Oregon State now in the PAC. And that was the very last night before going to Chabot's meeting and ending up committing to Chabot. As much as Steve would have loved to have him at Chabot, he did right. He did right by the kid. Now, that's not a good story to count on and be like, "Oh, I'm just going to figure it out later," and figure out the last week of the summer. It doesn't work that way, really. He made a very compelling case for himself, and it happened to work out. The truth is, if you went to Chabot, most likely it would have worked out that way anyways. Because if you're that baseball player, it's going to work out. So, for you guys, you want to stay with it, keep playing, whether you're committed or not, there's really not a difference in your approach. Except for you create more relationships now. Same baseball, create different relationships now that you are, or if you're not committed. Because now you're still trying to pursue that school, they pursue you, and figure it all out. Websites. So in the past we had the Head First Academy website, then we created what's called the All-Star Showdown, which a lot of you guys participated in. We had 2 websites. Now we have BercovichFoundation.com. We're going to have TriValleyGamers.com, which is not relevant to you guys anymore. We have thefarm.com or HF Farm, I don't know what it's going to be called yet. Head First Academy and All-Star Showdown. There's going to be 5 different sites. The one that's relevant to you guys is the Bercovich site. It's BercovichFoundation.com, and it's going to house Bercovich Tri-Valley, which is our old collegiate team, Bercovich Collegiate, Bercovich CM, or Connie Mack, and Bercovich WSL, which is World Scout League. In absence of a better name for those, that's just what they're called right now. And so right here we have Bercovich CM and Bercovich WSL. Okay? And a little bit about the system. Well, some of this stuff's not as relevant. Big showcase idea that we're planning for Reno next year. MLK event is right ahead of us. That's in January. It's on MLK Day, and it's the last time that schools will end up seeing players before you start high school and before colleges start their college season. So you want to be in your A form if you want to end up going to a 4-year, or if you want to go to a JC. Either way, you want to be in A form then. If you're already committed, you want to be in A form anyways as you go into high school. But this event becomes very relevant, the MLK event. And finally, what you guys came here for is the team information. Just wanted to make sure I got a lot of the stuff in. So the team information, there's 2 different sheets here with a bunch of information, both of which are out there that I'm going to read off these. Bercovich, so there's Bercovich CM and Bercovich WSL. Dave Huerta and myself are running the Bercovich Connie Mack team and the Bercovich World Scout League team. We're not 100% sure. It might be Coach McShane, it might be Coach Humphrey, along with Spencer, his son, who's in college right now. We're not exactly sure. There could be a combination of those, and one or the other of those could end up running the Bercovich Collegiate team as well. There's 40 to 50 games for both teams. Our home fields are Cal State East Bay, Chabot College, Castro Valley High School. We're not a high school. Castro Valley, by the way, we're in a renovation process, trying to raise money and renovate the field simultaneously. where the JV field ends up having a green monster and right, redone dugouts, and where the JV field becomes as desirable or more so than the varsity field, grassing field and all the rest. The league that both are in, the Bercovich team is in the Connie Mack division, the World Scout League team is in the World Scout League, and also the Don Mattingly division. So AABC, the 18U division of AABC traditionally was Connie Mack, and Don Mattingly was the 17U division. This year they're making Don Mattingly 18U division. The difference of the two is that, and it's actually really smart of AABC, the difference is that collegiate players already in college can still play on Connie Mack, but they can't play on Don Mattingly. So it's an organization for guys who are going off to college, where if somebody's an 18-year-old player, so Tyler Strawn, for example, was already out of high school last year for a year, but he had 18U eligibility, so he played on Bercovich Connie Mack. So he would not be able to play on Bercovich, on the Don Mattingly. So all of you guys, as graduating seniors, will play against other graduating seniors on the Don Mattingly circuit. Very smart, and also what it does is a lot of teams want to get into Connie Mack. This is a place where they can go and prove themselves and win the Don Mattingly circuit, and then maybe take the place of another team that's in Connie Mack, and then that team ends up going into the Don Mattingly circuit. So high talent level, all the rest. Nobody knows, it just came out yesterday. Actually, I was told in conference yesterday, people don't know this yet, so if you ask people and say, hey, this is the case for next year, they're going to tell you that it's not, because they're not aware. They haven't heard it yet, so you actually will be informing them. The cost for either program is $1,500. That includes January, June, and July. January is much like our fall. We have workouts in here or in the new facility, depending on the timing of it. And then we have practice on, basically in January, we're going to do what other teams do in June. So we're trying to organize, we have our uniforms taken care of, we have personnel taken care of. In fact, organizationally for us, we have from 15 to 20 commits on every team, except for the Bercovich World Scout League team. We have a couple fewer. On the Bercovich CM team, we have 20 commits so far, and other teams haven't figured out their schedule, nor do they know. They're not going to know until high school which players they want, and so forth. And we are getting way ahead of the game. Also, we're doing in January, but they end up doing in June with team chemistry, with you guys playing together. The truth is, we're going to win next summer on our teams in January. January is critical. To go further, we won next summer already with what you did in the fall. Other organizations are not doing what you guys are doing. So we want to stay ahead and separate ourselves at every level from other organizations. The goals for these two teams are different, and both teams are going to be envious of the other because they're both really cool. The goal for Bercovich is to get to the Connie Mack Regional and then the Connie Mack World Series, Farmington, New Mexico. The goal for the Bercovich World Scout League team is to be the World Scout League winner, which I'm going to tell you what that is, and also advancing to the Don Mattingly World Series. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the schedule, and you probably can't see this. It will be sent out to you later, but the 25th and 26th there's nothing going on. Well, there might be games. This is just for tournaments for the summer. It doesn't matter if you can see it from there. Just take my word that I'm telling you what the dates are. These are the dates and these are events. The color coding is more for me to figure out what's what. The first and second Bercovich World Scout League team, you're playing in the World Scout League event. That's the 18U World Scout League event, and it's going to be there'll be different organizations. So it's basically a 4-game series with top organizations around, and we are entering our Bercovich World Scout League team to try to win that thing. It's 4 league games that are played, and I don't know where it's going to be hosted yet. So when you have that amount of talent there, so arguably 8 teams that are that age group of rising freshmen in college, then it becomes a recruiting opportunity for you guys. So definitely a very good opportunity. I wanted to try to enter 2 teams in that division, but we're only allowed 1. Similarly, we're only allowed 1 in the Connie Mack. So then, ideally, all you guys would beat both of those, but The truth is, we have two very good teams. In our junior class, two dynamite teams. In our sophomore year, each year now is going to be two very competitive teams that go in different directions. Sometimes the World Scout League will be the one, sometimes it might be AABC, which is Connie Mack, Mattingly, Mattingly. The 8th and 9th is for Bercovich CM, it's probably going to Nevada. There's going to be a qualifier for the Connie Mack Regional in Nevada. It's either on this date or a different date, so we might have to go to Nevada. By the way, we don't want to travel really, just to let you guys know. There's some things to achieve our goals, there might be compelling reasons to travel. And you guys are older now, so you get this, but it's worth saying, if a family tries to travel each time, it gets real expensive real quick. And at some point you end up, in the old days, I don't know if our families went too much, and we said so much. The old Bercovich days were like 100, 130 games a year, and travel all the time, and just ended up figuring out a way to get there, and not knowing where you're going to sleep, and just kind of figured out as we went. And that was some of the best baseball times that we had. Times are different. It doesn't quite work that way now, but for a family of 6 to say, we just went to Arizona, so we can't go to LA. It's like, well, send your kid and have family vacation later. And depends on family philosophy. Some people don't operate that way. The point is, it just gets real expensive real quick with travel. But a solution is for not everybody to go. The 8th and 9th of June, we're going to probably have it's probably going to be the Head First Classic, which there's going to be a 16U division and a 17 and up division. Our collegiate team, one of our collegiate teams might also be in that same tournament. So it's going to be very competitive. Last year, we created our own tournament, which was the Bercovich Midsummer Classic. Our goal was to have about 8 teams in it, and maybe a recruiter or 2 show up. And we had, without trying extremely hard, but being diligent and hardworking about it, we had 16 teams in year 1. On the first night, we had at least 4 or 5 Division I coaches watching a game, including the head coach of a school in the PAC. And so for us, we're like, wow, this is the first time we've done it. And just by working hard, getting the right teams in, emailing out, it became an event right away in year 1. And that was a 16-team event in year 1. This year, we're spreading it out over more dates because some of our teams are traveling at different dates to different venues. So this is the first tournament we're hosting. And again, there's a 16U division, and then there's a 17 and up. And so the 8th and 9th, the Bercovich World Scout League would be a second tournament. This next one on the 15th and 16th, there's going to be a qualifier here in Northern California for the Connie Mack Regional, which there hasn't been, and both teams are going to be in it. Okay, and this stuff this stuff could possibly change. But the goal for me, I want to put both of you guys in the same tournament, which is a Connie Mack qualifier, which is going to be a big event, and you guys end up knocking off another team, helping the other one win, whichever way. And June 22 and 23, when it's blank, it doesn't mean it's off. So you don't have any time off. So you're playing every weekend, at least 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. It's high impact in baseball. It gets you accustomed to college or a professional schedule. The following time, throughout the end of July, is there's a Connie Mack qualifier in Arizona that the Arizona Firebirds put on. They won the Connie Mack World Series a couple years ago. They are loaded. They're loaded with talent all the time. They host a tournament. It's a really big event in Arizona. So the Bercovich CM team will end up going to that. And the Bercovich World Scout League team at that time is most likely going to go to Reno, where there's a 19 under tournament. It's about a 24-team tournament. So it's tough. It's going to be really tough to win. After that is our Bercovich Classic. And all of our teams in our whole system will be there in different divisions. What we try to do is, if we have 4 head first teams, we end up having 4 divisions of 3, for example, which would be 12 teams, or 4 of 4, or something like that, where you don't end up playing another head first team. So that even though we have several teams entered, you're matched up against other teams. The 13th and 14th, Bercovich will be in the Bercovich CM will be in the Gamers Classic, which will be up here in Northern California, and Bercovich World Scout League will be in Arizona. In this particular event in Arizona, you guys, this is the championship of the World Scout League, and it's going to be about an 80-team tournament. So it's going to be extremely difficult to win. At the same time is the 17U World Scout League, 16U, 15U, so it becomes a recruiting magnet during that time because of the talent, because of the athletic talent that's going to be there. It's a very big event. It's in year one. There's a lot of buzz about it. So that's 13 and 14 for World Scout League. Then the week after that for the Bercovich CM team is the Connie Mac Sectional. So our goal is to get to the Connie Mac Regional to get to the World Series. The Sectional will be in Northern California, and if you advance past that, you get to the Connie Mac Regional. A lot of information in a short amount of time, and I'm going to open it up to questions now. Yes?
What's the weekend of the MLK?
I think MLK Day is on January 19th. By the way, so Bercovich Baseball, so there's the new nonprofit, we're making Bercovich Baseball into a nonprofit, so we're in the beginning phase of that. So BBF, or the Bercovich Baseball Foundation, we do different fundraisers. We just did Tommy T's the other night, in which we probably raised like $2,000 by people going and having a fantastic time and just having a night out. So there's different fundraisers that we might be doing. That particular weekend on January 17th, we might do the first ever Bercovich Alumni Reunion Banquet. So it would be for current Bercovich players, obviously, and then it would be for former Bercovich players and or supporters, as well as people in our generation and Mike Bungar's generation. And it's meant to grow to where, and as you guys go to college or pro ball or get older, then you get invited back, then you guys can, so it's kind of cool because you guys end up hanging out with one another and seeing what's up with each other in the future, and also supporting the foundation, which is going to end up doing, I don't know what with the funds. In the beginning, it's trying to renovate our home field, and then after that, ideally for our collegiate teams, they would have to pay for travel, and then ideally for these teams, that hotel rooms would be taken care of as you travel and stuff. It just depends on the money. It depends on what ends up happening with it. But it's exciting for us because it's a chance for people to, it's a chance for us to fundraise and for people to write off a lot of the expenses and donations as a charitable gift. So that weekend is our target date for the Bercovich Baseball banquet.
But is your event on Monday only, or is it Sunday, Monday?
Monday only. It's a one-day event, yeah. So we would go Saturday, banquet, people could rest up on Sunday, and then get after it on Monday. Other questions? Devin, what do you got?
Okay,
I can see it in your eyes.
I was wondering if a player could play for both teams. So, like, if say the Connie Mac team has a day off, could the person play for like the World Scout team, or like the other way around?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot about that. Number one, there won't be any days off. And
No, but like if like my team's playing at like 2 p.m. and the other team's playing at 6 p.m., can I play for the team at 6 p.m.?
I like you, Devin.
Only you, Devin.
I don't know.
So here's what the summer, as I schedule for you guys, this is what I try to do. I try to go Monday off, Friday off, so you can be real people and go out and have fun and have some time without baseball. Saturday, Sunday is done. Like, don't plan anything ever on Saturday or Sunday if you have baseball. If you're a pitcher only, it becomes different. Saturday, Sunday, you probably have doubleheader Saturday, doubleheader Sunday. I try to do it in a way where, like, ideally you wouldn't be in Sac State one day and, I don't know, like Santa Cruz the next day or something. But try to do it like if we're leaving, we have to go further away for a doubleheader Saturday, then we'd be home on Sunday, or vice versa. Or if we went to Sac State on Saturday, we try to play it, somewhere in Sacramento on Sunday so people can stay over. In general, there's a lot of purpose when I put the schedule together, and try to stay off. So weekends become impacted, Monday becomes off, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you probably play 2 of those days, if not 3. So chances are you end up playing on the same day. It's just one of you would be at home and one would be away. So it doesn't really work out like that. Now, the other thing is it possible that Bercovich Connie Mac needs to pick up players going to the regionals, or that Bercovich World Scout League needs to pick up players going to Arizona for the championships? It's expected, absolutely 100%. There are going to be those changes, there have to be. And the math of it is, we have really good players on both teams. For us to figure out who's hot and who's not, and who's going to be hot or who's not at the right time, there's no way to figure it out at all. And a good example, last year, 2 years ago, our hottest guy in the Connie Mack sectionals was Logan Truex, who was a pitcher only. And he got a couple opportunities to hit, and he raked, and he was on fire. And in first game of the sectional, he hit a home run in the 7th inning. He was a pitcher, and I didn't even want him to hit. For me, I wasn't the head coach of the team. Caleb was, and for me, because he's a pitcher only, I didn't even want him to hit. But we agreed, like, man, he's hot. He's our best hitter right now. And last year, someone like that last year too. Who was on the team last year? Nobody. Do you remember who it was last year?
I don't remember. I remember Truex.
There was somebody who broke in the lineup that at the beginning or in the winter, no one would have thought. And yet they shot to the top. And so for us, we're very humble about our projections. By the way, in that situation, you guys, you got to understand, you got to produce at this level. This is about winning. It's competitive. Stats do matter. We're trying to create a program where, if you look at the Bercovich website right now, stats from the fall scout team, not all stats are updated and put on there, but leaders are up there. So different guys led in different categories. For example, Morris hit 3 homers, 2 in one game. He was a home run leader. Devin was in second. Just 1 homer. Pastora led in batting average 396, 515 on base percentage. So stuff's on the website. And by the way, there's a nice article going on about you. You're a new featured player. And so there's cool stuff. And the reason we do that, we're trying to constantly go above and beyond so that you guys can look and show your families and stuff in different places and recognize you for what you do. And also because, and for me, Bercovich is really close to my heart. So that's why I run this team and I'm going to run the Bercovich division and try to do a really good job. And if you guys have ideas for stuff, then by all means let me know and I'll try to implement it. Say something else. Oh, with respect to winning, the expectation when you guys get on the field for both teams is you win every time out. As you have a bad outing, the nice thing about it is if you're a pitcher, you get knocked out in the second. As a pitcher, you're supposed to go 5 innings and give up 1 run, maybe 2. And then someone comes in who's probably better than you in the 6th, and then someone comes in the 7th who's even better than that guy. So it's really tough to beat the Bercovich team. Offensively, you're supposed to out-hit them, be out-coached, you're supposed to out-base run them, which we do every time, out-defend them, and you're supposed to win. In baseball, sometimes you lose, but just for you guys to know the expectation, if you get knocked out in the 3rd inning on Bercovich team, you're a pitcher, your team's still going to win, because you're probably getting some damage. You gave up probably 3 runs over 2, and your team has to score 3 over 7 and come back and tie it and win in extras. And the guy that's coming into the game is going to go in and shove it, get an opportunity. Now he goes in and shoves it and out-pitches you. You're on the cutting block of a starting role. And it's, will everyone get opportunity? Absolutely. The way to get all the opportunities is show up to everything. We had a guy 3 years ago, he hit 180 over the whole summer, and he had about 80 plate appearances. 80 plate appearances in 2 months. That's a lot of plate appearances for hitting 180. And the reason wasn't that we wanted to be nice to him. The reason was he worked hard and he came all the time. He was a primary second baseman, so he was a second baseman all the time. And there was a point in that 180 where he was hot, he was the guy, he was a 2-hitter. He was on a little streak where he was the starter, frontline guy, but then he got cold, someone else got hot, and they went in. So for you guys to know, it's one of those teams where you end up cheering for one another because you're all talented and you're all good and you understand that guy's hot, he shouldn't be in there right now. But you know that you're on a hot streak around the corner, and then the key is just being hot, ideally all summer, but being hot at the right time as you go into Connie Mack playoffs for the Connie Mack team or Arizona for the World Scout team. So that's kind of your pinnacle, where at that point, figuring out the top pitcher in Bercovich CM or figuring out the 1 through 4 on Bercovich World Scout League, none of us could predict probably accurately right now, and we don't profess to know that. So the nice thing is, we say, okay, here's a lot of good players, Chuck and myself, here's the schedule, you guys figure it out. You guys figure out if you want it, you got it. And if you don't want it, or if it's not there, you just had a bad year, that happens too. And still, we hope you go to the big leagues. But it just wasn't there for this summer. Other question? Yeah.
How did you decide which boys ended up on which team?
There's a lot of different factors, including which one, like, I know the Connie Mack circuit more than I know the World Scout League. The World Scout League is in its first year. So really, I really put a lot of thought into the Connie Mack and thought who can have the best opportunity or the best role. So someone might be arguably more talented on one team, but their role on the other team would be, like they're a two-way guy, not just a pitcher, where on this team they'd be like a starting pitcher or something like that. Here they'd be a reliever and not get any work in, but they're like a primary fielder here, and they can also pitch. We're over here. So it's basically doing what's best for us to win and having a pulse on what's best for each player as far as their development. So in some cases, it'd be a lot easier to put one of the players on the other team, but it's not what's best for them. And it's the same that we do with our juniors and sophomores, where some people are like, how can I be on that team? Like, we have a sophomore who's second on his team in hitting in the fall, and that team's really good. And he wants to be on the other team, and we say, you know what? You need to become a guy. You need as many reps as possible. You need to be the 3, 4, 5 hitter. But over here, you might be the 8, 9, even though you can't have a good fall. For you to prepare for the next level, this is what you need. So there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, there's tons of stuff. We meet once or twice a week, and the meetings, and James McShane's over there, he's new to our system. He can attest, like, it's heat. And, it's like the 7th game of the World Series is that night, and we're meeting, like, everything's on the line. And so as we're talking, like, we're lobbying for the guys and trying, this is what's best for him, because he's going to be, he projects in college to be a reliever. No, he needs to start right now, he needs more innings. So there's all kinds of stuff like that. It's not a real precise answer, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Other questions? From players, you gotta have some kind of questions to help me direct the path of the ship.
When does the TPC thing start? Like, when does that merger begin?
If you drive out the back way, there's tons of sheetrock and stuff because walls and things are being torn out as we speak, and the renovation process is underway. Where, maybe it could be as early as January, or even in some hybrid way. So the next time, by the way, the cost for the program, Mike was going to talk about, is $1,500, which I said, which is January, June, and July. It just doesn't cover like the expenses of travel. It covers like the tournament that we're traveling to, but not like hotel room and stuff like that. Unless through the Bercovich Baseball Foundation we can raise cool amounts of money to where we can appropriate some of that toward these different venues. Then that's a goal, because then for a player, it's like, okay, I know it's already paid for, and travel, I just got to get there. So, but with respect to the TPC thing opening, ideally in January, if not then, we don't mind it taking a while, because then all our high school division is out playing in high school. So we don't do anything for February, March, April, and late May we start.
Guys, for the players real quick, it's easy to fall into shape at this time. So for you guys, you don't have much between here and January 1st. You do have Thanksgiving, you're going to eat a lot. Christmas, a lot of sweets, you're going to eat a lot. You can fall into shape easily in a month and a half. So for you guys, we don't have a program for you guys. For everyone as a team collectively, we have a few programs that we do offer. Unless you're in a high school program, to take care of yourself. Make sure you guys are in shape. January 1st, you're expected to be ready to go. In shape, ready to go. 2 weeks after that, MLK Showcase, ready to go. 2 weeks after that, high school tryouts, high school starts, ready to go. So you have a lot coming up. We don't want to push you January 1st if you're not ready, and then you get hurt. Then you're running your senior year, and then it creates a big problem. And then it goes into the summer and creates another problem. So make sure you guys stay in shape over this time. The payment schedule, the way the payment works is it's $1,500 total. What's due tonight is $200 to hold your spot, or $200 if you need a uniform. That's a full uniform. I know some of the guys have gamers uniforms now. You need the Bercovich uniforms. So what the cost would be for those guys is the jersey is $70. If you need pants, they're $60. A polo shirt for guys who don't have them, they're $45. If you need a hat, it's $25.
Guys, also another term for polo shirt is travel shirt. You have to have them. You have to have them. When we travel, go to meetings or anything, this is what you need to be wearing.
Like the guys, if you have them tonight, you should all be wearing them tonight. So if a recruiter walks in right now as a guest recruiter, some of you guys have flip-flops on or hoodies on or something else, you don't look recruitable. You don't look the part. So make sure you guys are wearing, if you have these, wear them. Because they see our guys, we saw it on the news when De La Salle football team went to play. They all had the same polo shirt on. Guy, it looks very professional. So we want to make sure our organizations represent the same way. Make sure you guys wear them to meetings, in the hotel, travel trips, on the plane, whatever we're doing. We expect you guys to have it along.
Also, we went to Cal Poly for team camp, and their coach said, they said, we just had our first meetings, and we were like, okay, and said, your boy Matthias, Mark Matthias, played for, he was the Bercovich shortstop last year, he's at Cal Poly now, and he said, your boy Matthias, and I was like, oh shoot. And he said, in the meeting, he was in the first row, in the middle, with a collared shirt, only one. I was like, good for him. But coach said it to be like, this guy's ready. This guy's not kidding around. He's coming and he's doing things right. So we try to prepare you guys for that. And in general, we like the style and stuff. It's cool to see you out of uniform. But our job is to have you guys present yourselves in a baseball perfect way.
So the payment schedule is broken up. So January 15th, either 300 is due, assuming that 200 is paid tonight. March 15th, 500 is due, and May 15th, 500 is due. What we want to have done is have everything done before June. That's when we start the whole thing. That's 7 months from now, so we can work on a payment program. People are very flexible with it, but we just want to go in the summer with this amount of games and this busy schedule and having to figure out and chase down a payment here or remind somebody or something like that. With the amount of teams we're going to have, we're going to have 14 right now, but with our partnership over there, we might have 20 teams. So it's going to be too hard to go and email and track down everything. So if you take care of everything before summer, then the team runs smooth, and there's nothing going on with that. So that's all. We'll do it right afterwards too. We'll do Coach McShane's over here, uniform sizing. If you need extra pants, if you need a hat, if you need the travel shirt, we can take care of all that right with them with me tonight.
Also, does anybody have a question about roster size? That seems like it's a very relevant question all the time. I'm either very impressed at you guys' confidence and or knowledge of how this thing works, or you missed it. But last year, going into the summer, on the Bercovich, we had one Bercovich team, the roster was 34. So the roster size was 34. That means the current Bercovich County MAC team and the Bercovich World Scout League team could pretty much combine with all the players you see on that list and create one team, one roster. As it worked out, a couple guys signed, a couple guys, it just didn't pan out, a couple guys stopped playing baseball, a couple guys got hurt, and then it trimmed down when we started the summer, actually to like 26 and 28, I think. And then that ended up trimming down to about 24. In the Connie Mac roster, you can have 25, which goes down to 22 for postseason. And it was easy. It wasn't our choice of who to take. It was your choice. Who produced and who didn't. And for someone who hit 180 and didn't have a role or something, no, you're not on. You might be a nice guy and all the rest and have a great future ahead of you, which is fine. But we both have to agree. The numbers can't lie unless the guy's a compelling base stealer or adds something. You know, if a guy's an 8th pitcher and we only need 4 plus 2 relievers and a closer or something for postseason, then the point is it's still trying to make that roster spot at 22, which is what it was last year, and that'll be the same for Don Mattingly. So again, the question is more of how many players you have relative to a position. And for example, the Bercovich County MAC team has a bunch of infielders, and the Bercovich World Scout League's greatest need is infielders. The Bercovich World Scout League has more catching than the Bercovich County MAC team. So the point that I'm saying, here's the reason I created 2 teams anyways, is last year we had one team in the split squad, and instead of split squatting, I thought I'll just create 2 teams with their own separate identities, and that way the rosters aren't way too heavy. And what happens is, again, is there going to be a crossover? Devin, to answer your question, it's expected that there's a crossover. I would love for there to be a crossover right away. And as a high school coach, I like when, and I like this on all the different teams, when there's mobility, when at the beginning of the year someone gets moved up or moved down, that's great because it makes everyone understand that there's opportunity. Well, there's opportunity both ways. And similarly, if you're moving across for a certain reason, and it could be they need a frontline shortstop here, and you're the 3rd shortstop over here, or they need starting pitching, you project as a reliever, or they need another catcher, or whatever, then it creates opportunity. And so that's dialogue. Or if someone conversely says, you know what, I really want to be on this team because I want to play for that coach, or I want to, these are my rights, or these are my best friends, or whatever, and I'm willing to not be a starter and be a bullpen catcher instead of a number 2 catcher or something like that, that's dialogue we can have too. I would advise against it. That's my job. And the team that we did is for you. It's in your benefit. But if you want something different, absolutely talk to me about it, and we can figure out what that looks like. It may be something. This is where I say, you know what? Trust me, it's not what's best for you. You might think it is, but still, we have that conversation. And at the end of it, you would probably thank us and say, man, this is absolutely the best thing because I took 3 steps ahead, even though I wanted to be on this role on another team or something like that. But again, I invite you to have those dialogues with me. Any other questions? Barbara?
During the summer, the weekday games, are they going to be early evening, like they've been?
They're always at 5 or 5:30.
And then my other question is, if a kid is working and they have to work come the weekends, and you're looking at double headers on a Saturday or a Sunday, and they can only make one of the games because of work commitments,
Yeah.
how is that going to be looked on?
Just if they're communicative about it, that's absolutely fine. If they're non-communicative, then they may have to learn a lesson the hard way about communicating, which could benefit them later on. But yeah, if someone told us, you know what, I can't do this for game 2, then unless there's some compelling reason we couldn't, then we'd be like, all right, you're going to be the guy in game 1, you know, or something like that. So that's really that kind of communication is especially relevant to starting pitchers, because if we have this rotation set up and then the guy doesn't show up or says, oh, I can't be there tomorrow, and we're like, we didn't know that, you're the starter tomorrow, then that's stuff that we need to know. Any other questions? Oh, one more thing. I mentioned the Bercovich fundraisers, Bercovich Foundation that we have. If you guys have knowledge of anybody with donation capacity, connections with anything, we need a storage shed that we want to put in the dugout, so we just have the bases and all the stuff just in the dugout. And they cost like $3,000 for a baseball one. And I'm like, I think we need a nice $3,000 baseball shed for bases and chalk. Like, it doesn't even cost that much for the bases and chalk. But something. So if you guys know of anybody or in any way have any connections with anything, and I'll probably be trying to call upon you guys individually if as needed, then definitely let me know about that too. All right, we're out of here. If you have other questions, then definitely let me know.